He gave his last penny to a pastor and almost lost his mother forever. Efe knelt beside his mother's bed. Her breathing was shallow, her skin pale like old paper. The doctors had said the operation might save her, if only he could pay 2 million naira. 2 million naira. Efe worked as a bus conductor, earning barely enough for food. Every coin he had was gone. And now, someone on TV promised a miracle. A pastor, smiling from giant billboards across Lagos, claiming he could heal the sick if you gave him your money. Desperation clawed at him. He had nothing left. But maybe, just maybe, this was his only chance. That night, with his last 1,000 naira, Efe stepped into Miracle Fountain Ministry. The doors gleamed like gold. Music exploded from speakers. And onto the stage walked Pastor Thompson, smiling like he already owned the world. "Somebody here came with a heavy burden tonight," the pastor boomed. "And God says, your miracle is here." Efe froze. How could this stranger know about his mother? "But faith requires investment, oh," the woman at the door whispered. "Sometimes miracles come with a price." Efe's stomach twisted. He didn't know it yet, but that price might cost him everything. What will Efe do? Will he risk it all for a miracle, or discover a truth that could change everything? "Mama, please don't leave me." The words hung in the air of the small room like smoke that refused to clear. Efe knelt beside the wooden bed where his mother lay, her breathing shallow, her skin the color of old newspaper. The morning light filtering through the torn curtain showed every line of pain on her face. "My son," she whispered, her voice barely audible above the sound of his racing heart. "Stop wasting money on those fake prophets. Save yourself." But Efe couldn't accept it. He had already lost his father 3 years ago. He had already watched his sister move to the village because she couldn't afford to stay in Lagos. He had sold his laptop, his phone, everything of value. His mother was all he had left. And he could not let her go. The doctors at the general hospital had been clear. Without the operation, she had maybe 3 months. With it, she might live. But the cost? 2 million naira. Efe worked as a bus conductor at Oshodi, making barely enough to buy food and pay for their one-room apartment in Mushin. 2 million naira might as well have been 2 billion naira. That's when he first heard about Pastor Thompson. Everyone in Lagos knew Pastor Thompson. His face smiled down from billboards across the city. His white Mercedes-Benz was famous in Ikeja. His church, Miracle Fountain Ministry, held services that packed 15,000 people every Sunday. But it was the testimonials that made Efe's ears burn with hope. "Pastor Thompson healed my cancer," one woman had shouted on the television. "He prayed for me and money appeared in my account," another man testified online. "My daughter walked again after 20 years in a wheelchair," another voice echoed through Efe's phone screen late at night. Efe had always been skeptical of prosperity preachers. He had grown up watching his father refuse to attend those kinds of churches, calling them business centers dressed in robes. But desperation has a way of erasing principles. When you are drowning, you don't ask questions about the hand pulling you up. On a humid Tuesday evening, after his shift ended at 6, Efe didn't go home. Instead, he used his last 1,000 naira, money meant for his mother's medication, to take a bus to Ikeja. The church building rose before him like a golden palace, all glass and gleaming metal. His worn sandals felt out of place on the polished marble floor. First time, a young woman in an immaculate purple suit approached him, her smile as bright as the chandeliers above. Efe nodded, suddenly aware of the sweat stains on his faded shirt. "Don't worry, brother. You've come to the right place. Pastor Thompson changes lives." She handed him a glossy brochure. "But you need to understand something. Miracles require faith. And sometimes, Faith requires investment. The word made Efe's stomach tighten. But before he could ask what she meant, the light dimmed. Music exploded from speakers that seemed built into the walls themselves. And onto the stage walked Pastor Thompson. Subscribe now to see what happens next. Will Efe find his miracle, or will he discover something that changes everything? Don't miss the shocking truth.
Pastor Thompson moved like a man who had never known doubt. His navy blue suit probably cost more than Ife earned in a year. His shoes caught the stage lights and threw them back like mirrors. But it was his voice that held power. Deep, confident, wrapping around the crowd like an embrace. "Somebody here," the pastor called out, his eyes scanning the thousands of faces. "Somebody here came with a heavy burden tonight, a sick mother, a dying hope. And God is saying to you right now, your breakthrough is here." Ife's breath caught in his throat. How did he know? Around him, people were standing, shouting, weeping. A woman to his left collapsed to her knees, speaking in tongues. A man behind him waved his checkbook in the air. The energy in the room felt electric, alive, like touching a live wire with wet hands. "But let me tell you something," Pastor Thompson continued, his voice dropping lower, more intimate. "The devil doesn't want you to receive this miracle. He's going to tell you that you can't afford it. He's going to tell you to hold back. But I'm here to tell you, you can't afford not to sow your seed." The phrase rang out like a bell. Sow your seed. If you had heard it before, seen it on posters, and heard it in testimonies, it meant giving money, lots of money. But the testimonies flashed through his mind, the healings, the miracles, the transformations. What if it was real? After the service, Ife found himself in a line of people waiting to speak with one of the anointed counselors. The woman who eventually called him forward wore gold jewelry that sparkled even in the dim corridor light. My mother is very sick," Ife stammered. "I need Pastor Thompson to pray for her." The woman's smile was warm but practiced. "Of course, brother. Pastor Thompson's prayers are powerful. Many have been healed. But you must understand, the pastor prays for thousands. To receive a personal prayer session, you need to demonstrate your faith." "How?" The word came out desperate. "The personal miracle prayer package is 150,000 naira. This includes a private session with Pastor Thompson, anointing oil blessed on Mount Sinai, and a miracle cloth that has raised people from their deathbeds." Ife's world tilted. 150,000 naira. He didn't have 15,000 naira in his account. I don't have that much money," he whispered, shame burning his cheeks. The woman's expression shifted, not unkind but firm. "Then you must sow with what you have. Show God you are serious. When did your mother's sickness begin?" 6 months ago. "And in 6 months, how much have you invested in her healing spiritually?" The question landed like a stone in water, creating ripples Ife couldn't escape. "Medicine alone cannot heal spiritual afflictions. Your mother needs more than drugs. She needs divine intervention." Ife thought of his mother's face that morning, her whispered warning, but he also thought of her struggle to breathe, the way she flinched with pain when she tried to sit up. "What can I do with 30,000 naira? He had been saving it for next month's rent, money he had scraped together coin by coin. The woman brightened. 30,000 naira is a powerful seed. That can get you into a special Sunday miracle service. Pastor Thompson will pray over you specifically. Many people have received their miracles there." Ife felt himself nodding before his mind fully agreed. The woman led him to another room where a young man in an expensive-looking shirt processed his payment on a tablet. Ife watched his savings disappear from his bank account, replaced by a receipt and a ticket to Sunday's Miracle Avalanche service. "One more thing," the woman said as he turned to leave. "Come with an offering. The bigger your faith sacrifice, the bigger your miracle. God cannot be mocked. What you sow is what you reap." Walking home that night, Ife felt two emotions warring inside him. Hope, bright and warm like sunrise, that maybe, just maybe, this would work. And fear, cold and creeping like night fog, that he had just made a terrible mistake. When he reached their room, his mother was asleep. In the darkness, he could hear her labored breathing. He knelt beside her bed and prayed harder than he had ever prayed before. "God, if you are real, if this pastor really has your power, Please, please let this work. But somewhere in the back of his mind, a small voice whispered his mother's warning. Stop wasting money on those fake prophets. Sunday couldn't come fast enough. And when it did, it would change everything.
Sunday morning arrived wrapped in golden light and cruel humidity. Ife had barely slept. He had spent the past 3 nights calculating, recalculating, trying to figure out how to pay next month's rent after spending his savings. But each time doubt crept in, he remembered the testimonies, the miracles, the promises. His mother noticed his Sunday clothes, the one good shirt he owned, pressed until it gleamed. "Where are you going?" Her voice was weaker than Wednesday. "To church, Mama, to get your healing." She tried to sit up, failed, and her eyes filled with something that looked like grief. "Ife, my son, listen to me. Those places, they take advantage of desperate people. Please, use the money for my medicine instead." "Mama, medicine hasn't worked. We've tried that for 6 months." Ife's voice came out sharper than he intended. Just trust me. By tonight, everything will be different." He left before she could respond, before her words could plant more doubt in his already trembling faith. The church was even more packed than Tuesday. Ife clutched his ticket, which earned him a seat in the premium miracle section, closer to the stage. Around him sat people dressed far better than him. Businessmen in agbada, women in lace and gele, young couples who looked like they stepped out of music videos. A woman named Regina sat next to him, her perfume expensive and overwhelming. She noticed him looking at the crowd. "First time in premium?" she asked. "Yes, I'm here for my mother. She's sick." Regina's expression softened. "I understand. My husband lost his job 6 months ago. We've sown over 300,000 naira in seeds since then. Pastor Thompson keeps saying the breakthrough is coming. It has to be coming soon." Something in her voice made Ife's stomach knot. 300,000 naira? "Faith requires sacrifice," she said, but her smile didn't reach her eyes. "That's what Pastor always says." The service began with the same explosive energy, but this time, Ife paid attention to things he'd missed before. The ushers moving through the crowd with offering bags, not once, not twice, but 5 separate times. The way Pastor Thompson's voice rose and fell, always building towards the same crescendo. Sow your seed, sow into your miracle. During the 3rd offering, the pastor pointed to the screen behind him. Numbers began to appear. Amounts people were pledging through the church app. "I see someone giving 1 million naira right now. Glory! I see 50,000 naira. I see 200,000 naira. Come on, church. Don't let the devil hold your wallet." People ran to the altar waving envelopes, their faces desperate with hope. Ife found himself walking forward too, carried by the crowd's momentum. He placed his last 25,000 naira, money borrowed from his neighbor Stanley. That's everything, he thought. Everything. When it was time for prayers, Pastor Thompson walked through the premium section, laying hands on people's heads. When he reached Ife, the pastor's hand was heavy and warm. "Young man, I see struggle. I see sickness in your family, but I also see you haven't fully released your faith. There's something you are still holding back." "Pastor, I've given everything I have," Ife's voice breaking. The pastor's eyes up close were harder than they looked from a distance. "There's always something more. Your mother's healing is in your hands. How much is her life worth to you?" The question felt like a slap and a caress at the same time. What should I do?" The miracle oil package, 70,000 naira, blessed in Jerusalem. I've seen it raise people from comas. The pastor's voice dropped to a whisper. "But this is the last one. I can hold it for you until tomorrow. After that, He shrugged, the gesture full of regret. Ife left the church in a daze. 70,000 naira. He could borrow it, maybe from his friend Gideon who drove down for, maybe from Mr. Lawrence, his landlord, although the man had already warned him about late rent. But as he walked through Ikeja's hot street, he passed a newsstand. The headline of a newspaper caught his eye. Popular pastor faces investigation for financial fraud. His heart stopped. He picked up the paper with shaking hands. The article wasn't about Pastor Thompson. It was about another prosperity pastor in Abuja who had been arrested for collecting millions from church members with promises of miracles that never came. The journalist interviewed victims, people who had sold their land, borrowed money, destroyed their lives chasing divine intervention that existed only in the pastor's bank account. One woman's testimony made Ife's blood run cold. He made us believe that if the miracle didn't come, it was because our faith wasn't strong enough. So we kept giving, kept hoping, kept destroying ourselves. Ife stood frozen on that street corner for what felt like hours. People flowed around him like water around a rock. Car horns blurred, hawkers shouted their wares, but all he could hear was his mother's voice. Stop wasting money on those fake prophets. What will Ife do? Will he borrow more money for the miracle oil, or will he finally open his eyes to the truth? The answer will shock you.
Efe didn't go home that night. He couldn't face his mother, couldn't look into her eyes and see the disappointment he knew would be there. Instead, he sat on a bench at the Ikeja bus stop, watching the city move past him. The Okada riders weaving through traffic, the food vendors closing their stores, the night workers beginning their shifts. His phone buzzed. A message from Gideon. Guy, I fit help you with 40k, but you go pay me back next month too. Now my daughter's school fees be this. 40,000, combined with another 30 he might squeeze from Mr. Lawrence. That made the 70,000 for the miracle oil. His finger hovered over the reply button. Instead, he found himself typing different words into Google. Pastor Thompson Miracle Fountain Ministry complaints. What appeared on his screen made his chest tighten. The first result was a blog post titled, My Experience with Pastor Thompson, a Warning. The author, someone named Cynthia, described how she'd spent 2 years and nearly 1 million naira chasing miracles for her sick son. Each time she gave, Pastor Thompson promised the breakthrough was coming. Each time, nothing changed. Eventually, her son passed away, not from his illness, but from complications that could have been treated if she'd used the money for proper medical care instead of miracle packages. I don't write this with bitterness, Cynthia's post concluded. I write it hoping to save someone else from the same trap. These pastors are not serving God, they are running businesses. Efe scrolled further. More stories appeared, like wounds opening. A man who lost his house, a woman who destroyed her marriage, a young man who dropped out of university to sow into his destiny. The pattern was always the same. Promise, payment, more promises, more payments, and never the miracle. But it was a video that finally broke something inside Efe. The video was shaky, clearly recorded secretly on someone's phone. It showed Pastor Thompson in what looked like his church office, meeting with a group of men in expensive suits. The audio was poor, but Efe turned the volume up and pressed the phone against his ear. Testimonies are key, Pastor Thompson's voice said. We need at least 5 fresh ones every month. Pay them well, but make sure they sign the agreements. If anyone asks, they are real members with real miracles. What about the boy last week, the one in the wheelchair? He stood up during service. Pastor Thompson laughed, a sound completely different from his pulpit voice. Cold, calculating. Junior, please, his legs work fine. He's an actor. I've used him in 3 different churches. Just make sure he's not in any Instagram photos. We can't have people recognizing him. The video ended there. Efe sat on that bench, his whole body numb. The world hadn't changed. Buses still rumbled past. People still rushed toward their destinations. But everything felt different. It was like waking up from a dream and realizing you'd been sleepwalking toward a cliff.
He had spent 55,000 naira, money that could have bought his mother's medication for 3 months, money that could have kept food in their pot, money that could have kept a roof over their heads. And for what? For lies wrapped in Bible verses, for theater disguised as divine intervention, for a business that traded in desperation. His phone rang. The number showed Miracle Fountain Ministry. "Hello, Brother Efe." The voice on the other end was the counselor from his first visit. "Pastor Thompson wanted me to remind you that the miracle oil package is being held for you until tomorrow evening. After that, we will have to release it to someone else. Your mother's healing is waiting. Will you be making the payment?" Efe closed his eyes. In his mind, he saw 2 paths clearly. One led to more borrowing, more spending, more chasing after promises that would never come true. That path ended with his mother still sick and him drowning in debt. "Brother Efe, are you there?" "Yes," Efe said, his voice steady for the first time in weeks. "I'm here, and my answer is no." The counselor's tone shifted immediately, losing all warmth. "Brother Efe, you are making a mistake. You are blocking your own miracle. Don't let the devil..." "The only devil I need to worry about is the one wearing a nice suit and collecting money from desperate people." He hung up before she could respond. Standing from the bench, Efe made his way to the all-night chemist on Allen Avenue. With the money he hadn't spent, he bought his mother's medication, enough to last 3 weeks. It wasn't a miracle, it wasn't dramatic, but it was real. When he finally reached home around midnight, his mother was still awake, worry etched across her face. "Efe, I've been so afraid. Where have you been?" He knelt beside her bed and took her frail hand in his. "Mama, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You were right about everything." As tears streamed down his face, he told her everything, the money spent, the promises made, the truth he had discovered. His mother listened without judgment, her thumb tracing circles on the back of his hand. "My son, wisdom doesn't always come cheap, but at least you learned before it cost you everything." That night, Efe lay on his mat on the floor, staring at the ceiling. The anger inside him was hot and pure. Pastor Thompson was still out there, still preaching, still collecting money from desperate people who believed his lies. Someone needed to stop him. Someone needed to expose the truth. And maybe, Efe thought as his sleep finally claimed him, that someone could be him.
Morning came with the sound of rain hammering on zinc roofs, the kind of heavy downpour that flooded the streets of Mushin and turned roads into rivers. Efe lay awake, listening to the water drum its rhythm, his mind already walking through the problem like a bus conductor counting change. Pastor Thompson had to be exposed. But how? If Efe just spoke out alone, who would believe him? He was nobody, a poor bus conductor with no proof, no platform, no power. Pastor Thompson had 15,000 church members, television coverage, and probably lawyers who ate people like Efe for breakfast. But then, Efe remembered something. The video. And if there was one video, maybe there were more. Maybe there were other people like him, other victims who'd seen behind the curtain and wanted justice but felt too small, too powerless to act alone. That afternoon, after helping his mother take her medication and eat some pap, Efe went to the only person he knew who might understand, his friend Wilson, who ran a small phone repair shop in Computer Village. Wilson was bent over a cracked screen when Efe walked in, water dripping from his clothes despite the umbrella. "Efe, guy, you look like person wey see ghost. Wetin happen?" Efe told him everything. To his credit, Wilson listened without interrupting, his face growing darker with each detail. "Now wow," Wilson said when Efe finished. "But guy, this kind thing plenty for this Lagos. These pastors, they done too much. But wetin you see do, you no get evidence." "I have something." Efe showed him the video he found online. "And I'm thinking, if this person recorded video, maybe there are others. Maybe there are more people with evidence. If we could gather all of it, maybe we could take it to, I don't know, journalists, the police." Wilson scratched his head. "The police? For Nigeria? Guy, you know say na money they run this country. That pastor get money past most police station, no? Then we make it too big to ignore. We put it online. We make it spread so far that even money no fit stop am." Something shifted in Wilson's expression. "You serious about this? My mama nearly died because of me believing that man. How many other people dey inside that church where they waste their last money? sick people wey suppose dey use am for hospital, children wey their parents dey fail property to sow seed. This thing has to stop. Wilson nodded slowly. Okay, I know somebody wey knows somebody. Make I put you through. That somebody turned out to be a journalist named Rita, who worked for an online news platform called The People's Truth. She agreed to meet Efe at a small buka in Ikeja the next evening. Rita was younger than Efe expected, maybe 30, with natural hair pulled back in a ponytail and eyes that looked like they'd seen too much too soon. She ordered jollof rice and chicken, but barely touched it, too focused on Efe's story. I've been hearing whispers about Pastor Thompson for 2 years, she admitted. But here's the problem. People are scared to go on record. He has threatened legal action against critics before. He's well connected. And honestly, many people don't want to believe their pastor is fake. They've invested too much, emotionally, financially, to accept that they've been deceived. So what can we do? Ife felt frustration rising in his chest. We need multiple witnesses. We need financial records showing where the money goes. We need more than one secret video. We need... Rita paused, studying Efe's face carefully. We need someone to go back inside, someone to gather evidence from within. The suggestion hung in the air between them like smoke. You want me to go back to that church? Efe's voice came out higher than intended. Not just attend. We need you to join their inner circle. Volunteer. Get close to the counselors, the administrators. These ministries keep records, receipts, member databases, testimony scripts. If we can get copies. Rita leaned forward. Look, I understand if you can't. It's risky. But if you're serious about stopping him, this is the only way. Ife thought about his mother lying in that bed, about Cynthia, who lost her son, about Regina in her expensive perfume, already 300,000 naira deep and sinking further. About every person sitting in that church, believing their breakthrough was one more payment away. What do I need to do? He asked. Over the next hour, Rita laid out the plan. Efe would return to Miracle Fountain Ministry, but this time as a volunteer. He would pretend his mother had been healed, a fake testimony to gain their trust. Once inside, he would document everything. How they coached testimonies, where the money went, the tactics they used to manipulate members. Rita would provide him with a small camera disguised as a pen and teach him how to safely transfer information. One more thing Rita warned as they prepared to leave. If they discover what you're doing, it won't just be embarrassing. These people protect their money streams viciously. You could face threats, legal action, or worse. Are you absolutely sure? If he thought about the easy path, walk away. Forget about Pastor Thompson. Focus only on helping his mother with what little money he could earn each day. It would be simpler, safer. But he also thought about something his father used to say before he died. A man who sees evil and does nothing becomes part of that evil. I'm sure, he said. The rain had stopped by the time he left Ibuka, but the streets were still wet, reflecting the neon lights like shattered mirrors. Somewhere across the city, Pastor Thompson was probably in his mansion counting the day's offerings. Somewhere, desperate people were planning what they would sell next to sow their seed. But now, for the first time since this nightmare began, Efe felt something besides desperation. He felt purpose. The hardest part was still ahead, walking back into the lion's den, smiling at the same people who had taken his money, pretending to believe their lies while gathering the evidence that would bring them down. But he would do it, not just for himself, not just for his mother, for every person still trapped in the net, still chasing miracles that would never come. Tomorrow, the real work would begin.
3 weeks later, Efe stood in the parking lot of Miracle Fountain Ministry, adjusting the pen camera in his shirt pockets. His hands were sweating despite the morning cool. Inside that building were people who had perfected the art of manipulation, who could spot doubt like sharks smell blood in water. But Efe had something they didn't expect. He knew their game now. Brother Efe, the counselor who had processed his first payment, rushed toward him, her face glowing with what looked like genuine happiness. We heard about your mother. Praise God. Complete healing, just like Pastor promised. The light tasted bitter in Efe's mouth, but he forced a smile. Yes, sister, the miracle came. I'm here to give my testimony, and I want to volunteer. I want to help others receive what I received.
Her enthusiasm doubled. Glory! This is what we love to see. Faith in action. Come, let me take you to meet our volunteer coordinator. Over the next 2 weeks, Efe became part of the machinery. He sat in meetings where they discussed engagement strategies, how to identify the most vulnerable members, when to push for bigger offerings, which testimonies would resonate emotionally with the crowd. He watched them coach people on what to say, how to cry, when to fall down dramatically. The pen camera captured everything. One afternoon, Efe found himself filing papers in the administrative office. That's when he saw it, a ledger showing the miracle oil packages. Cost to produce 3,000 naira. Price sold to members 70,000 naira. The profit margin was stunning, and the document showed sales in the hundreds. He photographed the ledger, his heart pounding so hard he was sure someone would hear it. But the moment that changed everything came during a late evening meeting Efe wasn't supposed to attend. He was cleaning the hallway outside Pastor Thompson's office when he heard raised voices inside. "These people are starting to ask questions," a man's voice said. Efe recognized him as Deacon Martin, the church's financial secretary. "The Johnsons want to know why their miracle hasn't come after giving 500,000 naira. The woman with the tumor is getting worse and she's talking about going to other members. Then we give her a special prayer session, free of charge. Make her feel seen, give her some olive oil with frankincense, cost us nothing, makes her feel special. The important thing is keeping her quiet until we've secured the building fund pledges from the other high-value members. And what if she doesn't keep quiet? Then we make an example, publicly. We question her faith, suggest she's harboring secret sin that's blocking her miracle. The congregation will turn on her before she can turn them against us. I've done it before." Efe's blood went cold. The cruelty wasn't just in the theft, it was in the calculated destruction of people who dare to question. That night, Efe met Rita at their usual spot. He handed her the memory card from the pen camera, his hands shaking. "This is it, everything. The financial records, the coaching sessions, the conversation about manipulating that sick woman, it's all there." Rita's eyes widened as she reviewed the footage on her laptop. "Efe, this is even worse than I imagined. This is not just fraud, this is systematic exploitation." "What happens now?" "Now we publish. But first, we need to move your mother somewhere safe. Once this story breaks, Pastor Thompson will know it was an inside source. He'll figure out it was you." The article dropped on a Wednesday morning, titled "The Miracle Merchant: Inside the Business of Pastor Thompson's Fake Healings." Rita's platform published the videos, the financial records, the testimony scripts, everything. Within hours, it had spread across social media like wildfire. News stations picked it up. Other victims began coming forward with their stories. The comment section filled with thousands of people sharing their experiences, their losses, their anger. By evening, Pastor Thompson had released a statement calling it persecution from the enemy and fake news designed to destroy God's work. But the evidence was too damning. Video doesn't lie. Bank statements don't lie. The testimonies of dozens of victims, all telling variations of the same story, that doesn't lie. The police announced an investigation. The Economic and Financial Commission Crimes opened a file. Major television networks began investigating prosperity gospel churches across the country. But the real miracle happened in smaller ways. A woman named Flora called Rita's office crying with relief. She had been about to sell her late mother's land to sow a seed for her daughter's university admission. The article made her stop, think, and instead she used that money for proper exam preparation. Her daughter got into university through her own merit. A man named Bola wrote on Facebook, "I was 3 days away from taking a loan to buy Pastor Thompson's business breakthrough package. These articles saved my family." Hundreds of similar stories poured in, lives saved not by miracles but by truth. If this story is touching your heart, hit that subscribe button right now.
because the best part is coming and you don't want to miss how this ends. Click subscribe.
2 months after the article published, Efe sat beside his mother's bed in a government hospital. Not the general hospital, where they'd first received the diagnosis, but a teaching hospital, where Rita's article had connected them with doctors who agreed to perform the operation at a reduced cost, with payment plans Efe could actually manage. The surgery wasn't a miracle. It was medicine. Hours of careful work by skilled surgeons. But when his mother woke up afterward, weak but alive, her eyes clear for the first time in months, Efe felt something he'd forgotten. Real hope. "My son," she whispered, squeezing his hand. "You did a good thing. A brave thing." "I almost destroyed us, Mama. I almost threw everything away believing in lies. But you didn't. And now, how many others won't make the same mistake? How many families will keep their money, keep their hope, keep their dignity?" She smiled, tired but genuine. "That is a real miracle, Efe, the kind that matters." Pastor Thompson eventually fled the country before he could be arrested, reportedly to Ghana, where he started another ministry under a different name. But his church in Lagos was shut down. The building was seized, and across Nigeria, people began asking harder questions of their spiritual leaders. The investigation revealed that Pastor Thompson had collected over 3 billion naira over 5 years. Most of it had gone to personal luxuries, houses, cars, investments abroad. Less than 5% had gone to actual charity work. Efe never got his money back. That 55,000 naira was gone forever. But in a strange way, he came to see it as tuition, the cost of an education that money couldn't buy from any school. He learned that true faith doesn't require receipts, that real miracles rarely look dramatic. They look like doctors walking through the night, like friends who lend money without being asked, like communities that rally around those in need. He learned that desperation makes people vulnerable, and there will always be predators who dress in robes and speak in scripture to exploit that vulnerability. Most importantly, he learned that ordinary people have power. Not the power to perform miracles or change water into wine, but the power to stand up, speak truth, and protect others from falling into the same traps. 6 months later, Efe quit his job as a bus conductor. Rita's news platform hired him as a community correspondent, investigating stories of exploitation and giving voice to people who couldn't speak for themselves. The pay wasn't much better, but the purpose made every day feel significant. His mother recovered slowly but steadily. She still had difficult days, but she was alive. And on her good days, she would sit outside their room, a slightly better one now, with a window that actually opened, and tell neighbors about her son who stood up to a fake prophet. "Not every hero wears a cape," she'd say, her voice proud and strong. "Some wear second-hand shirts and carry the courage to do what is right even when it's hard." If you're going through hard times right now, sickness, financial struggle, seemingly impossible challenges, remember this. The answer isn't in sending money to people who promise miracles. The answer is in facing your situation with clear eyes and taking practical, honest steps forward. Real faith doesn't make you foolish. Real faith makes you wise. It gives you strength to endure, courage to keep trying, and wisdom to recognize truth from lies. If someone is asking you to pay for miracles, to buy anointing oil, to sow seeds for breakthroughs, stop, think, ask questions. Real spiritual leaders serve you. They don't milk you. And if you ever feel powerless against injustice, remember Efe, one person with courage and truth can start a wave that changes everything. Your breakthrough might not look like a miracle. It might look like a good doctor, a helpful friend, or an opportunity that comes from hard work, or simply the strength to keep going one more day. But those quiet victories are more real, more lasting, and more valuable than any theatrical miracle sold from a stage. I hope you enjoyed this story. Kindly share your thoughts about this story with me in the comment section below. Give this story a thumbs up and share this video with your loved ones. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so by now. Thanks for watching.